last. My boy. I have been every voice you have ever heard inside your head.
Hello there, Star Wars fans, and today I am back to discuss two cool characters in Star Wars. One being my favorite, Anakin Skywalker, who eventually turns into Darth Vader, and Kylo Ren, a brilliant character specifically in the first sequel movie, the Disney sequels, The Force Awakens, but eventually goes down as a character in The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker. So today I'm here to discuss why one of them worked excellently and why one of them flopped, was a flop character, which is Kylo Ren, because he is basically a rip-off Anakin. I still like him, but he really was only good in one movie, so let's get into it. So Anakin Skywalker's story was much more complex. It was about his anxiety issues, him fearing the loss of his mum, and how fear led him to the dark side, expanding on what Yoda was saying in episode 1, in episode 5, when he was saying fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, hate leads to suffering. He had all of this business. That was his fall to the dark side. So Kylo Ren's story was sort of rushed. You know, in The Last Jedi, his story of him going to the dark side was based off Luke Skywalker approaching him in his bedroom and him having nightmares. Luke having nightmares that he was going to destroy everything he loves, and Luke hesitating, contemplating whether he's going to destroy Kylo Ren or not. And eventually Kylo Ren sees this and perceives it in a different light, as if he's about to be killed. So yes, I can understand that he felt betrayed, but it just wasn't as elongated and as complex as Anakin Skywalker's story in the prequels, where he feared the loss of his loved ones, Padme, and his mother. And it shook him to his core. He was having nightmares, he was overthinking, stressed about this, and the Jedi constantly told him to miss them, do not. Like, don't get attachments, don't miss them, and this was ultimately just suppressing his emotions at the end of the day, which was pretty much terrible for him. You know, if he had someone like Qui-Gon at his side, he would probably end up trying to help him accept his emotions more, and maybe figure out a way to save Padme or whatever. But the Jedi just completely ignored these nightmares that Anakin had, and it ultimately led to him wanting to tap into the dark side, as Palpatine was more patient and understanding of his worries in Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Well, that's how he wasn't actually understanding of his worries, really. He didn't really care to that extent. It was all manipulation. It was all a front. So Anakin could take this bait and go be seduced by the dark side of the Force. And also, Kylo Ren, for example, in The Force Awakens, he's awesome. He has this, like, issue where he's contemplating whether he's going to go to the light side, and he's like, I feel it again, the pull to the light in front of the old Grandpa Vader helmet in The Force Awakens. And he was like, show me the power of the dark side, and I'll let nothing stand in our way, and I'll finish what Vader started. And it's all epic and shit. But then he meets his like dad again. He bumps into his dad again, Han Solo, and there's like this pull to the light. His dad's trying to like tell him to come home, and his emotions. He starts missing his parents. He starts feeling that comfort, that nostalgia. But Snoke is like telling him like, you can't do this, Kylo. You can't give in to your soft feelings, or you can't give in to your love for his father. And Kylo Ren's like, he means nothing to me. When he really does, he's just suppressing his emotions. But then in The Last Jedi, he just turns into this like character where he's like talking to Rey, trying to get Rey to join the dark side, almost like Darth Vader and Luke. But it's like this thing where Rey is like trying to get him to turn to, and they both won't agree. And then I guess they end up maybe getting some feelings in episode 9, and then they end up kissing at the end. It's like sort of an abusive relationship, and I'm pretty much I'm completely against it. And she should have fell in love with Finn because he was an actual good person in those movies, and he was an actual no, like he left the First Order from like the jump. He was indoctrinated as a child, whereas Kylo was just still a villain. And this guy like blew up like numerous planets at once. He watched that happen. He watched Starkiller Base like blow up all those planets, and I guess pretty much like Darth Vader watched like Scarif and Alderaan get destroyed. And yeah, in episode 9, Kylo Ren redeems himself and he turns back to the light side. And it's just a rip-off Vader arc. It's like, but it's just worse. So instead of having the heart, that Return of the Jedi heart, that beautiful heart, where Luke was so compassionate for his father, he saw the good in everyone. And he saw the good in an evil man like Darth Vader, and he believed he could be turned to the light. That was so beautiful. But in episode 9, they sort of ripped this off. Instead of making it different than the Return of the Jedi, they just ripped this off, and Rey sort of motivates Kylo to join the light as she stabs him with the lightsaber in his chest, and he gets healed by her. And she's like, I did want to take your hand, Ben's hand. And then Han Solo talks to him through like a vision where he's like, come home, son. I did actually like that scene before he throws the Kylo saber into the ground, into the river. And General Grievous, I'd like to imagine that General Grievous showing up to take it, you know, that meme. But obviously that didn't happen because General Grievous died in episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. But it's just funny how it's just a rip-off Vader arc, and it's not the same. What should have happened, I think, especially after The Last Jedi, Kylo should have just stayed Supreme Leader and Palpatine shouldn't have came back. And I just hoped it was a case where he was the main leader of the galaxy and he was like the TFA Kylo. Because that's the Kylo we loved for real. The one that like had the mask. I still like Kylo without the mask, obviously. But mainly it's the presence and the dark side tendencies that he had. It was sort of the rawness, the evilness that he had in him that was really intriguing as a character, and how he always was like suppressing his positive emotions. That was the intriguing part of his character that we all liked. That they just took away in The Last Jedi, and he had it at the end of The Last Jedi. And he also had it at the like first half of Rise of Skywalker, to be honest. But they didn't fully see it through. And we all know that Duel of the Fates, like the script that they didn't go ahead with, that script would have been epic, where basically Kylo just stays as like a dark side user, and I think he gets like killed at the end or whatever. But he just stays on the dark side, and he's just evil throughout the entire film. He doesn't have the same redemption arc as Vader, and it doesn't feel like a flat-out carbon copy of it. And Anakin's story is so much better in like Revenge of the Sith. So what they did with Vader was pretty much a way better story of a dark side user, in my opinion. I much prefer the 6 episode Star Wars movie story of Anakin Skywalker. I think they could have done right with Kylo in 3 movies. He had a whole trilogy to do him right. They could have done it even if they just had a flashback scene for his backstory. But I really think the Duel of Fate script scene, the Duel of the Fate script could have worked better. I really think that would have been a much more successful story to have in the sequel. It would have been way better. So yeah, that's just my opinion. I really enjoy both characters.